I think.
Did you have to poop?
No, I
Is it all gone?
I think I got all those out.
All right.
I'll hold it in. I'm a professional.
You can't hold those kinds in, though.
Watch me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Dudes Watch a Movie Video Podcast, episode 27. So we kind of strayed away a little bit from our old format of having you guys vote because we really wanted to watch this movie and we weren't just going to wait around for a theme to come around where it came perfect. Because it's just on Netflix teasing us. Yeah. And knowing Netflix, by the time we wanted to watch it, it'd probably not be on there anymore.
Right. This movie has literally been like months, if not years, in like the making of our hype level and wanting to watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Somehow you guys just don't want to choose the themes that have to do with heists or guns.
Or warm weather, or Val Kilmer movies, or really any other way we could shoehorn this into happening.
Yeah, so we made it happen. Yeah. That being said, the movie we did watch was Heat. It is a film from 1995, and let me tell you, there are certain things in this film that really age it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that film was directed by Michael Mann with two N's. Mm-hmm. With quite the all-star cast. I mean, nowadays it'd be considered all-star. Then, like you said, they weren't top billed. They had Danny Trejo in it, and he wasn't even credited in top billed.
Danny Trejo is never top billed unless it's a B movie. I'm just throwing that out there.
I mean, he's so popular. Or is he just popular for being...
He's not... Well, I mean, I don't want to say he's not popular, because he's popular, but he's more prolific than he is popular.
I suppose that's true.
No one's going to see, a Danny Trejo movie. I'm going to go see that.
Does he really have like I wouldn't say shit-tastic, like dirty background, or is he just...
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know if he's just a gruffy-looking man.
No, he definitely used to be in gangs.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, he got hired because of that, actually.
Oh.
I think, if I remember right, he was a consultant for a movie, and they're like, yo, why don't you just...
Be in a movie.
Be in the movie. And he's like, okay. And then we got Machete.
Yeah. I never saw that, but I heard, what was it? The guy who screams all the time about gay frogs.
Alex Jones?
He said Machete was going to be a movie that was going to start a race war.
Well, he said a lot of silly things.
He did. That man's weird. Anyway, so this cast, as I was talking about, I added some words to these cast members, if you won't be able to tell right away. Stars I'm Always Drinking and Shouting in Movies Pacino as Lieutenant Vincent Hanna. Robert, I Have a Big Mole and Love to Point My Finger Aggressively, De Niro as Neil McCauley. Val, trying to make the ponytail awesome, Kilmore with a side of a gambling problem.
Stop. Not trying to. He made that ponytail awesome.
It looked so bad.
Okay, at the beginning when he's
that's what I'm saying.
When he's pretending to be like just their average Joe coworker, yeah, it looks bad. But in the big scene, looks like a badass.
No.
Yeah. Continue.
Anyway, he's playing as Chris Shielharlis, and then some other no names that, I mean, they come across in the film as characters who are pivotal to name. John Voight. I'm not saying he's a no name, but he doesn't come up a whole lot in the film, some of them.
Minor characters.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. Tom Sizemore as Michael Cherto. Diane looks like a dude in this film. Vernora as Justine. Amy, I work at a bookshop with a terrible southern accent. Brenneman, who is playing Edie, who is Mr. Robert De Niro's love interest. And then the rest is kind of on there.
Ashley Judd. Ted Levine is the guy that plays Buffalo Bill, and he's in Monk. He plays the chief, and he's the guy in this one. Dennis Heisbert is the Allstate guy. You've got William Fitcher, who is always the bad guy. He's always playing like a prison warden, or he's in The Dark Knight. He's the guy at the beginning.
Roger
bank robbery in that
Van
one.
Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Whiny. But, whatever. She's a teen. Gonna do what teens do. Anyway, let's roll into the plot here. That's literally the shortest one that was on IMDb, so it's still really long. So follow along, if you will. Hunters and their prey. Neil and his criminal crew, hunt to score big money targets, banks, vault, armored cars, and they are, in turn, hunted by Lieutenant Vincent Hanna and his team of cops in a robbery homicide police division. A botched job puts Hanna on their trail while they regroup and try to put together one last retirement score. Neil and Vincent are similar in many ways, including their troubled personal lives. At a crucial moment in his life, Neil disobeys the dictum taught to him long ago by his criminal mentor. Never have anything in your life that you can't walk out of in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat coming around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
As he falls in love, thus the stage is set for the suspenseful ending.
I take some issue with what that gentleman just wrote on there. Did we get a name on this guy?
I mean, I can hear in just a few short clicks.
So he makes it seem like the love plot between Bobby De Niro and what's her name is way more important than it is.
Written by Tad Dibburn. D-I-B-B-E-R.
Take that, Tad.
Take it just a tad.
I would say so he talks about, go back real quick. He talks about never have anything in your life, can't walk away, 30 seconds flat, whatever. It ends up not being her. It ends up being his vengeance.
Yeah.
Because he had her, and they were getting out scot-free. He was spoiler alert.
If you haven't seen this, 95, come on.
I do highly recommend watching it, though.
I guess I did just see it for the first time.
It was pretty good. So if you know by now. But he has her, and they're getting away scot-free. And then he gets that last call that says, hey, Charles Manson's over here, and you can go clean that up. And then he decides, fuck it, I gotta go do this.
Grow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that ultimately ends up being his downfall.
His demise. He just couldn't finish. Like that's the thing that I think with all bank heist or most heist movies in general, they just can't get enough. They can't just be done.
Yep.
Not only that, but this whole movie runs around. I put it in there. We're not so different, you and I. That just keeps circling back and back between.
They do never say it, at least.
Yeah, between Vincent and Macaulay.
Just call him Alan Bobby.
The cop and the robber. So yeah, right off the bat, this movie actually kicks it right into high gear. There's not a whole lot of setting up of what's happening. Mm-hmm. They just kind of introduce subtly who's going to be the main people in this heist, or I suppose the first setup, to basically smash into this car and then grab what I found. They're called bearer bonds, and I looked this up.
I was going to ask you if you knew what those were.
I didn't. I've never heard of them before, and at this point, I don't even think they're legal, but they could be. I've never heard of them myself. It says a bearer bond is a bond or debt security issued by a business entity such as a corporation or a government as a bearer instrument. It differs from the more common types of investment securities in that it is unregistered. No records are kept of the owner or the transactions involving ownership. Whoever physically holds the paper on which the bond is issued owns the instrument. This is useful for investors who wish to retain anonymity and recovery of the value of the bearer bond in the event of its loss, theft, or destruction is usually impossible. So that's why they stole them, because there's no records. It's just it's like having money, but it's written in bigger forms than 10s, 20s, 50s, 100s.
Interesting. My note there was Grand Theft Auto 5, the movie.
100%. Some of the people, just the characters that get set up in there.
Not only that, which while I was over there, I was doing some research myself. Yeah, that's the same one I saw.
Yep.
And the reason it was looking so familiar is because you straight up do that heist in Grand Theft Auto 5.
Without a doubt.
And the whole time when I was looking at good old Bobby De Niro, all I could see was Michael from GTA 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then the swastika, I am the Grim Reaper guy. I was like, oh, you really remind me of Trevor at the beginning.
So it says in here, Grand Theft Auto 5, that basically 5 movies that inspired the record-breaking video game series. The top one on there is Heat, followed by Goodfellas, The Godfather, Scarface, and French Connection. Which I feel like I've seen that, but
say how many of those have you seen? I bet you've seen Heat.
2.
Nice.
The top 2, actually.
I'm only missing that last one. I don't think I've seen the French Connection.
I haven't. I've heard of it, and I believe there's actually a mission in Grand Theft Auto 4. Yeah, the French Connection is a GTA 4 mission. So,
interesting.
That being said, go ahead. What are your little tidbits?
The hair in this movie is real strong. like it was just towards the tail end of the mullet, so people were growing out like the front parts now and pulling everything back, but they didn't quite get this taken care of yet. So you got Val Kilmer running around with the shook ponytail.
He's got like the part down the middle too.
Yeah. Well, because it used to be a mullet, and that part's going out. Al Pacino's got a bit of a longer cop style haircut, but then you've got I'm just gonna keep calling him Charlie Manson because I don't remember his name. Wango Tango.
Wangro.
He's got like the losing the hair up here, but still rocking it real long down here look. Like
it's thinning up top. He's borderline skullet.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
So
then just random people you see throughout the movie have like that long, like it's short to be professional, but really like volumed and long, like everybody.
They're using a lot of that tresemme.
It's weird because it's all really stiff and rigid too. Like when they move, their hair does not move whatsoever.
They've got that newscaster hair with all that extra hairspray.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much my big takeaway. The movie was 1995 was a great time for hair. That's about it.
Yeah, and like you said, 1995, there's a lot of bits in here that I said really aged the movie itself. In the background, one of the shots, there's a pawn shop. In the back, it says beepers on it. And I was like, I've never fucking used a beeper. I was probably never old enough to use one.
No.
Plus, I don't know how. What do you use those to send? Numbers?
So, you know how on like a really shitty smartwatch or like a low-level Fitbit, you can get text notifications or things like that, but you can't actually do anything about it? That's what a beeper was. It's like, oh, I'm getting a phone call from this number. I should go check that out.
So instead of checking the phone, you're checking a beeper that then tells you to go look at the phone.
It's letting you know that someone's trying to contact you, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I've seen one.
I'm sure there's a lot of codes used in that too.
Probably.
A 411. That's obviously not it. Also, there's a line in there that really tells you the information is just being beamed out everywhere. Apparently, the internet is a new crazy deal.
Yeah, 94 would have been around when it first got into homes.
And the guy's just like, you could just take things out of the air. Stuff's just getting sent everywhere.
And here we are, 2018, thinking maybe we never should have had it.
Yeah.
Except for us. I mean, we're on
Yeah, I mean, you're on the internet now watching us.
Thank you. Other things that are super 95. So we were talking about what we were watching. I don't know that it's actually green screen. I think it might be bad rotoscoping just due to the age. It's one of the other two, but when they're on the balcony and it's Bobby and what's her nuts from the bookstore, like the background Edie, Edie. You can tell the background is just not actually there.
And I was trying to ask you during it, like the lighting, something about the cityscape lighting. It looks like when you use Google Earth and then you turn on satellite mode and it looks over the top and everything just looks flat because obviously it's a flat plane and then they tried to 3D it on there. But I mean, in this one it just looks, it's skewed maybe wrong.
I'm pretty sure it was just there's a lot of shots in this movie that had like really shallow depth of field. So I remember when you asked it, there was a truck or a van driving. I think it's when they're going to do that nighttime drilling heist that they had to.
It was
cancel
driving
out.
in. That's on the left side of the screen. And the rest of the screen, it just looks flat.
So if you look at that scene, like the van and that one small strip of the van is in focus, and everything else is really blurry. And when you blur it out, you lose a lot of that definition of depth and things like that. So it makes it look really flat.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have drones back then.
Drones.
Oh, the improvements this movie would have got. Maybe they should do a remake.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I almost feel like this movie works better because it was made in 95. I think.
If you have nowadays with cell phones and shit, it just kind of ruins
it. It really complicates it and like all the cat and mouse chasing and things like that. I mean, they could set it in 95, I guess. But I also feel like a lot of the fun was this movie, like, pretty much everything was an actual practical effect.
Oh, yeah. I can see it. I know. What were we watching where it talked about most of the gunplay effects in that movie?
I can't remember, but didn't they shoot, like, actual not live ammunition, but blanks out of actual guns to record all that, like, on set,
I'll tell you, the
street?
audio in that was legit, too. During that gunfight, the echoing throughout the city was very well done. Very, like, in set. I don't know. It just felt real.
It's because they recorded it there while it was happening. It's a good call. Honestly, every movie should do that. I know it's probably really expensive, but...
And dangerous. I'm looking at you, Crow.
Don't spoil what we might watch next.
What? He's just begging for it. So right off the bat, I noticed as they're starting their heist, they're wearing driving gloves. I haven't seen those for ages. That's how you know it's professional, though. Both the drivers are wearing driving gloves. The legitimacy of the hockey mask, I thought they were going for more of a protection aspect, not so much an anonymity. So I was kind of critiquing them on that. But then again, being as that's not what it's for, I feel like they should have been a little bit more maybe armed up in the car once they were doing the actual street mission of the street heist where they're robbing the bank.
Oh.
I mean, I know they're trying to keep it quick and dirty right off the bat, grab the money and dash, but I mean,
Well, so
Their only barrier was a car. I mean, at least be prepared if shit goes south.
well, that's the problem. And shit was never supposed to go south, but they got narked on basically. So the cops showed up. If they had not got narked on, they were in and out scot-free.
True. They did get tipped off by Vance, whatever his name was.
Yep.
And Manson.
And their boy Trejo, which was kind of sad.
Unfortunately.
Yep.
Do you think he intentionally meant to play his own name for his character? Or is
I
that
don't know.
just one of those coincidental things?
Maybe he's like Jack Nicholson. He only plays people named Jack.
It makes it easier to find out who you're talking to on set. Slick, their first loose end. Again, the really evil doer. Basically, as soon as you see him get No?
No. Slick is
Oh, well, they called him Slick, though, didn't they?
right, but Slick is
the other guy with the salty hair who gets shot in the face.
Yeah, scroll back up.
I can't remember that.
He's a famous actor too, but I can never remember his name. Tom Sizemore. That's Slick.
Michael Chirito.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They call him Slick because he calls everyone else Slick.
Well, that's the thing, too. Alias on here, he was known as Slick, Cowboy, and Jameson.
That doesn't make zero damn sense. He just looks so much like Charles Manson. It's weird.
It's insane. He's just missing the cross.
That's not a cross, pal.
You know.
Are you saying you don't know the difference between a cross and a swastika? Is that something you're willing to commit to film?
No. I thought he had an upside down one. No, it was a swastika.
It's a swastika.
I don't look at pictures of Mr. Manson all that often. I'm sorry.
I'm just sorry that it's one of the most famous tattoos ever on one of the most famous people ever.
That's a sick fuck.
Yeah, he's dead now. Don't worry.
He's got about as high as charisma level as our Macaulay guy, by the way. Because that man meets this chick at a diner for the first time. Says he's a salesman.
Yep.
Goes home that night, fucks her, and then convinces her to run away with him.
Yeah. Robert De Niro.
I'm just saying though, they just met.
She gets lost in those eyes in that mole.
It's where he draws his power from.
Have you not noticed how much money he has and how nice he treats her?
I mean, he's got that weird little tempo, that little creepy vibe about him, though.
Yeah.
That I've got a temper.
It was the 90s
anyway.
when people were like
I was
really
literally
drawn to
caps
him.
locking this shit on here. She doesn't want it, Macaulay. Stop
Oh
trying
yeah,
to
when
force
she's
it.
trying to like kiss her forehead and stuff after she finds
She's
out.
like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. It was the 90s. Being a macho man.
I thought the
Was
90s
the
was
rage.
supposed to be fucking what's his face with the long hair, really beefy body, and
Fabio?
yeah,
No.
that was your 90s beefcake,
No.
not De Niro.
No.
Some of the things I didn't quite understand. I didn't realize surveillance could just be dumped when they were trying to basically keep an eye out for them. Cops come back and said, "Oh, we're done." It's like, well, I mean, if you're on a hot case, I would assume you try and at least stick it out till you have 0 leads, not just, well, we're done.
Yeah, but I assume it's a numbers game where they only have so much money they can put towards those resources, and it's like he kept talking about we've got like 7 to 8 hours tops before he's gone, and I assume every situation has that sort of timeline where after a certain amount of time your chances of catching somebody is all but gone, so you might as well stop wasting the resources.
I suppose. I'm not a cop, so I don't know any of that. I tell you what, it is really hot in here. I apologize if I'm glistening. I'm really getting the sweats right now. Whew. The airflow is 0 because it's heat. Anyway, what else you got?
And that was Dudes Watch a Movie Podcast epised 27.
Oh,
We'll see you
jeez.
next time. Holy fuck. Man, I wish we had just a single cricket in here.
Oh, man. Well, the problem is you never find it, and then you get close to it, and then it stops chirping. I was trying to find a cricket the other day.
So this movie was bumming me out. Like,
Why?
I was just looking at all these really like good actors, and it's like, man, they all suck now. I shouldn't say they all suck now, but
There
they've
was a
become like
shitload of famous people in there.
mostly Pacino and De Niro have become like parodies of themselves. And in this movie, Pacino is already like at that point where he's just being like, with some of the way he says things is really weird. He's got a it's just like, what?
It's like he can't get away from being Scarface. It's like that
yeah.
one scene you play, that one movie you play really well, and that's all you're known for, i.e.
Well,
Harry Potter. Daniel Radcliffe is only known as anybody else but Harry Potter.
The problem is, though, he doesn't play that character in The Godfather. And he's really good in that. He's more like the calculated character, but then he played Scarface, and now it seems like every movie he's got to have that one scene where he just has that outburst. And in this one, it wasn't just his outburst that was weird. Like there's certain times where he like just draws a specific word out for no reason and then does like a weird vocal gymnastic on it.
You can bang my wife if she wants you to, but you can't watch my TV.
It was so weird. And then like in this movie, De Niro's still like super good. He's always like that really calm and collected person. But when I think about him now, like,
well, he's that calm, collected person who flies off the handle unexpectedly.
Yeah, but even when he does that, it's not to the same extent that Pacino does it. Like he's like when he catches Val Kilmer's wife cheating with Hank Azaria, and he goes in there and he's direct and he raises his volume, but he's not just like eyes wide open, screaming, frothing at the mouth, and then he gives her the point.
Like I said, he's got that charisma factor. There's just something about just the way he does everything that it's like a subtle, I'm gonna fuck you up without being really angry.
Yep. He puts it across in like body language and look.
He strikes the wrath of God in you.
I just feel like now everything he's in, he's like playing the parody of himself. Like, oh, he's the dirty grandpa, or oh man, meet the Fockers, he's the dad.
Is that what happens when you get old? You start being made fun of for what you were?
I guess, but it was kind of bumming me out a little bit. Also, I feel like I'm starting to wonder if Hollywood has purposely decided to stop showing the grittier sides of LA in effort to like make themselves look better, because this movie also goes to those like seedier spots, and I remember we were talking about that during the Big Lebowski.
Some of the ghettos,
as you just never see those in most big budget movies anymore. If it's Hollywood, you're in like the hills and you're at the fancy houses.
I also kind of noticed, and maybe it's just because some of the heist movies I've watched, not very often does the bad guy get away with it. If they do, somebody else gets the money.
They used to have a code about that, and I can't remember what it was.
I was wondering if that's what it was. Like, it's not allowed to have the bad people win because then it makes the police force look weak.
Correct. I believe
it's like a way of propaganda.
It's no longer in effect, but I mean, most movies kind of still follow that rule. Which
is there any particular reason why? Is it just so they can get like someone who will actually, I wouldn't say put the budget for it, but
and I think it's more of it's a neater ending, you know?
Doesn't leave any open holes.
Yeah, because I feel like in contrast to what we talked about last time where we watched, or I guess not last time, but the time before that where we watched The Wall and they had to make the bad guy win and it seemed really cheap. In this one, like they, obviously De Niro and his crew are technically the bad guys because they are stealing, and not even so much that, but when they start murdering people, because when they're stealing, they're even talking about, hey, it's not your money, it's the bank's money, and all that kind of stuff. So you can kind of play the Robin Hood side of things, but then they just start murdering people, so they're kind of the bad guys. But I was still wanting him at least to get away with it, because he like I said, he's got a lot of charisma, and
he was the methodical guy of the group,
right? And the movie is really, it's pretty good split between him and De Niro, or him and Pacino, as to whose movie it really is. But when they were driving away and they get that call, I was like, don't you do it, just fucking go, go. I just want you to get, I mostly wanted Val Kilmer to get away, which I'm really happy about, because
he did.
God damn it.
But did he get away with the money, or did he just get away scot-free?
I think he had some of the money with him still in the bag.
I got real sort of fucking paranoid when I saw that when he got away, and then they're like, oh, well, stop him at the end of the street anyway. And I was like, oh shit, they called her bluff. But nope, they didn't.
And that whole time I was like, you bitch, you're gonna sell him out, you're gonna sell out Batman? I don't think so.
The little slight hand movement.
Yeah. You noticed he cut his hair? He had to go be Batman. I think it was the same year.
That's where Mr. Wayne got all his funding, from a bank heist. Golly.
I don't know. I would assume, though, it's hard to do the movie where the thief gets away, because then it's, I mean, I guess you could show them wherever they go with their money, but there's just so much left unanswered. It's like, well, did they keep looking for him? Did they give up? What's the deal? And then you have to like add the like 10 years later when they die or something like that. I think it's just cleaner to have them get caught or have them die.
I mean, that makes sense. I have had several movies that end where you want to know what happens afterwards, where I guess in this one, like you said, it's just, he's dead. I mean, it kind of leaves you open as far as what does Edie or whatever her name is does.
Yeah.
Because she never gets like questioned or
Right.
stopped.
Yep.
I mean, it made a point where it almost looked like Al Pacino's character was staring at her in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So almost
think
like he kind of knew, but he decided to leave her alone.
I think he saw the car there and noticed it was probably like running and there's a driver missing, and he did a lot of
two
things.
and two together.
Yeah, he did a lot of things based on his gut feelings, which were generally right, which would explain why I guess he's such a good detective or a cop.
And there was that scene where they were in the yards where he figured out that you were away. So
I was
basically,
watching it while I was in there.
What?
Yeah, I had it on my phone.
Oh Jesus!
When they get set up and he's like, they gotta go that way, and he's like, you want to know how good this guy is? Oh, son of a bitch!
Yeah. So
Yep.
they got him in there, and I was just like, oh wow, you figured it out. Honestly, didn't know they were setting him up for that until that scene. It's like, oh, wow,
It was pretty good.
he's a professional,
Yeah.
as he said he was.
Yeah.
It's that cat and mouse game.
And I think that's part of why I was kind of rooting for De Niro's character too, because it's the same reason that Pacino ends up holding his hand at the end.
Were they bro five?
Yeah, because
Not really
it's
bro
like
five, but-
they have that talk in the diner, and then they definitely learn that they're very much the same in terms of how they operate, how they think. They're just on the opposite side of the coin, and if it was any other situation, they probably would have got along really well because they're matched intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And
feel
in
like
personal lives, because they have
Yep.
their own drive that really drives them, and not necessarily and lets them have anything else other than what they want.
And I feel like it's almost that having finally met your match moment that a lot of like professionals look for, whether it's like sports or something like that. Like I'm going to talk basketball for a second, so just kind of look at the wall if you want.
Just gonna tune out.
Yeah, you got Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. So in the 80s, they were like the two best, and they were on opposing teams, and they kept fighting each other in the NBA Finals like multiple times, and then they ended up becoming the best friends because they could see that they were at that same level that no one else at the time was at. That's how they were in this. So,
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure all you sports guys would like that, but did you watch that on the SB channel?
No, I've just
you watched that
I've known
beef
that for a
one a
long
lot.
time. See, they didn't have beefs. They were really good friends. They were constantly playing each other in the finals. The 80s was a fantastic time that I did not get to live through.
I mean, that could be good or bad.
Yeah. I could have done cocaine. Which I guess I have. That's what I've learned. Continue. Moving on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've gone through most of it. I have a problem when I write notes. I basically just put down how I'm feeling while watching the film.
I noticed you have a shit ton of notes ever since you went over to the...
It just makes it a lot
laptop.
easier just to kind of type it out. I guess one thing I did notice, a lot of the actual sound effects also, I don't know if you played Grand Theft Auto 5 enough, but like the loading screen, that little distant, really chill music that's playing, that was playing consistently in this film.
Oh, the 90s baby making music?
Kind of, but not the part where he fucks his woman. It's just the part where they're just kind of cruising around.
Like the droney, high-pitched
Kind
guitar tones?
of. That one, and then I know you played it maybe once or twice. Payday, when you're setting up the heist, there's that music that's happening, and that's happening during the whole bank heist thing. So,
I was just doing it for you.
I mean, that's close, but
Doom, doom, doom. Bank Heist soundtrack is my note. And I kind of wonder if this is the one that originated that or where that came from. Because
I would
you hear that
imagine
in
so.
so many things. Batman has it in theirs.
I mean, maybe we got to look up older heist movies
Maybe.
and see where they come from. The only thing, I'm going to go into one of the things we typically finish out with, but I just wanted to make a note of something that I didn't like about this is there wasn't enough, and it's personal opinion, feel whatever the fuck
Planning.
you want to feel. But yeah, the planning. There's no montage of setting up. There's no, this is how we plan on doing it. It's just, they go straight to it.
As soon as it ended, and I was like, he's going to be so mad that there wasn't a montage.
Yeah, no. I mean, after 27 episodes, I assume you at least know what I enjoy. But what I must have
They
been
did
taking
some planning. It
I
just
must have been
wasn't in a
taking
montage.
notes at some point or something. But what was the whole thing they were doing with the ceiling? They broke out the ceiling and then popped out the thing to
Yep.
do what?
It was, I think it had, if I remember right, because basically all I could infer was had to do with, they were talking with the gentleman in the wheelchair about it, and then they had to get the things from John Voight, who was kind of a useless character in this for the most part, and it kind of irritated me every time he showed up, who also had awesome hair though and a mustache, but they kept giving those blueprints and the schematics, and that was kind of their planning. It wasn't a montage, but they got some of the stuff done. I think it had to do with their security system, so that it wouldn't be possible to alarm the police from a different route.
So they're just rerouting essentially the electronics. So instead of being a direct line, it was okay.
Yep. If that's correct, I might be wrong because I may be stoned on grass and Prozac. Favorite line. Favorite line. Lady. Just the way she delivered it. I may be stoned on grass and Prozac. But.
It's a weird combination.
It is. I don't even know what is Prozac. Is it an antidepressant?
I feel like it is.
My mom would be so anxiety. Okay. Prozac oral.
Fluoxetine. To treat depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, bulimia, nervosa, and panic disorder.
Maybe she's depressed.
So she's taking 2 downers essentially.
This is all that random drug knowledge I got from having a pharmacist for a mom. It's like, I know what they are, and I think I know what they do.
I don't. I just think they all have really weird fucking names, but they're all for a purpose. That's what we'll never learn about.
Quick little PSA moment. Never pay for the brand name.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Thanks. What's his face? Who bought the Wu-Tang album? Was jail. Everybody hates him.
Oh, Shkreli?
Yeah.
Martin Shkreli?
Martin Shkreli.
Yeah. Basically, if someone's like, hey, doctor's like, I'm gonna prescribe Prozac to you, be like, no. How about I pay 1/3 the price and get the
generic brand that's basically the same thing?
Yep, because it'll always say Prozac, and then in parentheses it'll say what the generic name of it is. Just get that.
Save yourself some money. Drugs are expensive.
The more you know.
Dun, dun, dun. I don't got much else, honestly, for a movie being 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it was another one of those movies where I was doing more watching than I was note-taking.
True. I need to work on a format that works better. However, the cinematography in the film was good. I will admit that one. There's a lot of good shots. Like you said, the depth of field of this film was off the charts.
Yep.
A lot of different.
A little crazy.
Yep. They had a slight vertigo shot in there that I really enjoyed. Not enough films do that. I mean, it wasn't as intense as then what was it?
They were just dolling in.
I'm just saying, it sure looked like it because he didn't seem he was moving in the background. Seemed to be doing a little weird thing. Because it was an intense moment that would have easily called for one. Not as quick as one as fucking Jaws.
They were just moving in and then staying the focus on him. Because that was that scene where he was real in focus, but if he even did this, he was out of focus. Yep, I know. I remember when he said that, and I was just like, nope.
Regardless, those are my favorite scenes to see in a film. They don't do it enough. Probably for good reason, though.
I like it when the movie ends. My favorite scene is a cut to black.
Boom, roll credits.
It's just over finally. I'm like, yeah, that was good or that was bad, and I can finally know my conclusion.
There you go. Go ahead.
I mean, I think that's all I've got. It was just it was a good movie. Okay, how about this? Did it live up to the hype?
For all the extra shit I've seen about it before actually watching it, I'd say so. I mean, it was a movie for its time.
There's your one per movie.
It is, yeah.
It's one per whatever.
One per.
That's
what they called it. But yeah, I mean, like you said, if it had been set in any other time period, it wouldn't have worked as well as it did. It has to be an older time to have a heist movie work. With how connected the world is now, there's so much extra bullshit on the side. You have to be like, we gotta knock out the cell towers, and we gotta do. Whereas this time period, your only cell phones were in cars, and 9 times out of 10 they were recorded anyway. So that limits anybody from inside the bank of ruining anything else. So you literally just have to deal with people hitting alarms, which I was actually surprised didn't happen.
Well, because they pop the thing out.
But I mean, desks.
Well, that's why they popped it out, so no one could do that move. No one could do a little finger banging on that alarm.
Nice.
Nice, no finger. I mean, it was a good movie, but I think I was let down. I think they could have trimmed out probably like a half hour of just useless stuff from that movie.
There was a few characters that I don't feel really needed it.
John Voight wasn't super necessary, other than he was like their go-to guy of getting certain information and whereabouts, I guess.
Dennis Haysbert maybe didn't have to be the second wheel man.
Yeah, there was a whole scene about him with the girl, and then later her, and they put a lot of people in there, and they did a good job giving them all a small arc in one way or another, but it seemed kind of unnecessary. The bit with
I feel like the main old dude should have
Fincher?
had at least had more of a bit.
old dude.
Their main guy, their go-to contact. Like, why
John Voight?
why was he the head guy?
I don't know. I don't know. Is he supposed to be the one that told him not to something about 30 seconds or whatever?
No, he's the one that told him that the guy that was checked in at the hotel. He was the guy that was supplying them with all the passports.
Yeah, but was he originally the one that told him that when he was younger? Was that the guy that was
I don't know. That's
was
what I
his
would assume
protege?
so. Never really said that.
I don't know. He irritated me every time he was on the screen just because of his mustache looked disgusting. And John Voight shouldn't have long hair, and he just only showed up to give them what they needed, which was frustrating. Who else in there? There was William Fincher's character. Didn't really need to have a moment. I didn't make, like, it just seemed unnecessary that he was also there trying to kill them at the same time. And then that was the reason why Charles Manson came back into the fray. And it's just, I feel like Manson could have been that guy no matter what. I don't know. It did have that cool scene where they're out in the field though, and Kilmer's like watching them with it's not a sniper, but some sort of gun, and they have to do the whole car thing. I mean, it was cool,
That one was
but
a pretty badass scene.
it is unnecessary.
I'm still surprised somehow he didn't see the guy getting out of the passenger side of the car.
Yeah.
With how watchful he was on the
Yeah.
the driver.
Because that's the side he was on.
Because he sneaked right out of the other side. I'm like, wouldn't you see the door or something? Whatever.
Yeah. It was good, but I think it was a little disappointing. Those scenes that we knew about, like the bank robbery, all those scenes were really good. There's a lot of scenes and parts in this movie that had a lot of really good tension to them. But there were other parts, like the whole love interest on all sides seemed kind of unnecessary.
Well, I think those are the scenes that are supposed to bring together the cop and the robber. Like, they have kind of mutual wants, but one is pursuing his career forever and ever, and the other one's like, I'm a criminal, and somehow I'm going to make a relationship work. And I don't know if that's a trope, but it never works.
It just cut all those scenes out, save yourself another 15 minutes.
Just make it an action movie, not a drama thriller action.
And if they were dead set on having those, then don't have the Val Kilmer love plot line as well. Like, it was just too much of the same thing kind of going on in 3 different areas. So, I don't know.
I feel like if you're going to be a professional criminal, you probably just shouldn't be in a relationship at all.
Yeah.
That's just an extra end/weakness that can be used against you.
It's like Danny DeVito said, just bang whores. Anyways,
Fucking Sonny.
what's your what the fuck moment?
When Macaulay chose to go and fuck everything up, he had it. He was gonna be scot-free. He was ready to go. He was barreling down that road with the woman in his passenger seat, ready to go be scot-free. He was almost smiling. He wanted to, but just wasn't there. And then that one motherfucker had to be like, in case he wanted to know, he's in this hotel under Jameson.
Damn you,
Had he
John
not
Voight.
planted that seed, he would have been. Was it New Zealand he wanted to go to?
Yeah, I think so.
Some shit
if I
like
remember
that.
right. Yeah.
But no, that was my what, because literally it was going on in my head. What the fuck are you doing, dude? Don't do it.
Yep. I guess I did straight say that. I was like, what the fuck, stop. As soon as he turned that, and he's like, oh yeah, we got time. And it's like, you don't got no time. No time at all. Look at that. No time.
You ran out of time ages ago.
Yeah. And he had just given up on you too, which I guess is, I mean, his character wouldn't know that, but us knowing that he had just given up. Okay, also cut out Natalie Portman's character, now that I'm thinking about it.
She kind of popped in, had a tragic happening, and left. See, it would have been more effective had she had been injured by the Manson guy, not herself. Where then it would have been more of a direct threat, not so much like just a side, I wouldn't say side quest, but like, oh no, this is happening over here. That's unrelated to the ongoing.
Her whole purpose was to show up, be angsty, try and commit suicide to bring Al Pacino and his third wife back to like a understanding. But even during that moment, he's like, yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work or if it'll ever work. And it's like, okay.
Move along.
Yeah. My what the fuck moment was Al Pacino singing in the scrapyard. So he goes in there and he's talking to that guy, Richard, who was supposed to call him, and he never calls him. And then just halfway through, he just starts singing and like flapping his arms and shit around. I was like, okay, it's going to be one of those performances. I see. Most of the time in this movie, he's got like the gum in his mouth and he's
chewing aggressively.
Yeah, and he is being very like, I don't know the word I would use, not aggressive, but he's very focused. Like when people are trying to avert his gaze, he's like following them and he's being very like, tell me what I want. At the club. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's it. This is how it is. That's it. And I was like, 90% of this movie was real good. And then there was like the 10% where he starts singing and he goes, Raiders! And all those over the top parts.
Took you out of it.
Still good though. What was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene was the bank heist itself. The running through the streets, basically the shooting, the methodical shooting that both of them have. Like when they're out there on the streets doing all the gunfighting, like you have Val Kilmer shooting at the back while the other two are shooting up front, and then he switches to the front. The other two switch to the back. Like
that combat reload.
It's like they had their own. Obviously, yeah, they've worked together, and this is their retirement heist. It's like they've done it before, which leads me to think like, why haven't they had any sort of big scores with that sort of methodicalness about it? Have they done that before?
I would assume so, because why
haven't the cops been chasing them from the get-go, like way back then?
Because they got away scot-free. It wasn't until they paired up with Manson that he killed somebody that it was like, shit, all right, we fucked up. Yep. Because they even mentioned like, hey, look at all the weird, like after that, he's like, I want reports on all the weird like robberies and big things that have happened in the last so long or whatever. And they have to have done some because they all have real nice houses up in the hills. So they're getting that money somewhere.
Speaking of houses, Robert De Niro's house, when you go in there, if you look at the cabinets, he's got 6 plates and about 7 glasses sitting up there, and the whole rest of like the 5 or 6 cabinets are completely empty.
Yeah, and he has no furniture.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
How do you have such a huge house with nothing in it?
Because he's planning on leaving. He's got 2 places.
Oh, okay. That I didn't catch.
You're talking about the one by the beach where he finds Val Kilmer sleeping, and he's like, yeah, you need to get furniture. He's just on the ground. My favorite scene was the aborted robbery that they had where they were drilling at night.
At the precious metals place or whatever.
And then the one where we went to get that book about splitting the titanium and all that kind of stuff. I thought that whole thing was real good because you see that the cops are there before anything happens, and it's just like, oh shit, they're gonna get caught. And then they climb up and they deactivate the thing and they pop the bolt and it goes in there, and then the whole time they're all just kind of like, most of the audio just goes away, and it keeps cutting back between Al Pacino and De Niro and the other people that are waiting, and then it'll go into the bank where the drill is loud as fuck, and he's just going through it, and then it goes back to quiet, and then back to them, back to loud, back to quiet, and it's like building all this tension and making your heart rate kind of rise. And then the guy goes to sit down, his gun clings against the side of the van that they're hiding in, and then you just see De Niro like look at it, and then they show it in the infrared, yeah, and his eyes are like glowing, and you can see even with that, like he does a look where he knows that they're there, and he goes and he's like, we gotta go,
walk.
Call it,
I
walk.
almost have it.
Yeah, that was super good.
It was very tension building, and I was confused at first. I was like, well, why don't you stop them there? But then he mentioned that they just get busted for being instead of an actual theft.
And that was one of those, another one of them, like couple moments where they show how like smart and how good De Niro is at what he does, that he knows like, hey, most likely they're not going to stop us on this. We can just go.
Would you say some of the cops themselves are corrupted in a sense? Because like they're working with some of the bad guys, like that one black dude who's breaking down all the Porsches, and he's got like that dogfighting pit, and he's basically his connection. He's letting all this shit slide just so he can use them for information.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call that corrupt. I'm like, we're not cops, so I don't know how it works. I've got like a second cousin twice removed that was like a police sheriff or something in Des Moines, but from what I understand from movies anyways, how everything works in the cinematic universe of life, you have your informants, and as long as they keep helping you, they do not get arrested. But as soon as they run out of their usefulness, then it's like, all right, well, we're gonna arrest you then. And that's kind of what he was insinuating with them. They were like, hey, do this and we will help you. Otherwise, we're going to fuck you. Just like they did with Hank Azaria's character. They're like, hey, either you help us get Val Kilmer's wife
with cigarette charges.
Exactly.
Across. Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense.
So it's not like they're turning a blind eye to it.
Almost seems like a way of extortion.
It kind of is. It kind of is, yeah. But I mean, they're the cops, so they can do it. Who's your MVP?
My MVP was Macaulay, only because that dude has a huge charisma factor. Can easily meet some chick, bam, fuck her, and then run away with her because he's a salesman, and he's very methodical. Like, I hate to be like, yeah, it's just the main character is my favorite character, but how they portrayed his character overall, like you said, he's got the fear of God when he talks to anybody. The fact that he can kind of sway everything kind of in his favor in one way or another, other than his personal life beforehand.
He's really good at diffusing things too.
Yeah, he bounces back quickly, but at the same time, he has that gift and a curse that is his drive. Like when he sees whatever her face is, Edney, whatever the hell, and he's walking away, and she's giving him that look that she knows that she's not as important to him as he intentionally made it out to be, because he's living by his mantra. Well, that's kind of how I read it, because he's living to his mantra. Like he's got the heat, and he has to be willing to drop something at the second of a hat, essentially.
Yeah. I don't know. I saw a different look on his face though, where it almost seemed like he was. It makes sense. It makes sense that the idea is that he's dropping her because the heat's coming. But to me, it seemed more like he saw her and was like, I don't want you to also go down for this, because the money was in there too. And he was like, I'm getting out of here. And it's not like he ran. I mean, I assume that's where the airplane was going to meet him up, but without that money, it's kind of pointless. So I don't know if that's a good question. Because I read that as he was just like, I don't want you to go down as well, because I think he knew he was fucked.
I just kind of feel like he was living by his mantra. If he had any way of escaping and getting out of it, that's what he was going for. And so he was like, well, sorry, we almost tried to make it work, but obviously I fucked this up, so good day, and I'm going to run away now.
If any of you guys have Netflix, watch the movie and let us know.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, your opinions? How do you take it?
My MVP was Al Pacino. Because my God, even when he goes overboard, he's still super entertaining. It was just
that gravelly voice that works so well.
Just enough crazy to make it like really entertaining, but not too much to where it took me out of the movie. And I was like, well, this character is way over the top. There were those moments, like one more time, but outside of that, like, I thought he had a lot of really, really interesting mannerisms, and even like the chewing of the gum and all that kind of stuff. I was like, he seemed like a good actor, if that makes sense, which maybe that's a bad thing to seem like you're being a good actor, but he had a lot of little nuances I liked.
Is that method? No, not method acting. I mean, it's kind of like Daniel Day-Lewis, what he did. He gets into the character. He has his little twerks, his little like mannerisms that make his character his character.
Yeah. Twerked on him.
And so I think that's what his was, because he's, like you said, he's kind of very to the point with what he wants to do, and he's just that aggressive chewing the gum, like he's constantly on edge.
Yep.
And I guess that's what he said. What his angst keeps him on edge.
I'm gonna go
keeps
home.
him sharp.
I'm gonna sleep for a month.
Because then he can finally relax. But
Yeah.
little does he know.
Yep. Whew. We did it. We finally saw Heat.
In the heat.
So I mentioned it earlier about The Crow. So I am gonna propose something here. We have a couple ways we can go about it. So instead of doing,
I'm not painting my face. I'm just putting that out there right now.
So instead of doing like the themed months like we did for the last year and some change, we could go a different route. And we could try and do like a 6 degrees option, where we have to do the next movie based off some connection to this movie. So like maybe next we could watch another movie that has like Val Kilmer in it, or another Michael Mann movie, or like another heist movie, and then branch off from there. Like there's got to be the connector, which I think would be kind of interesting. Or we could do something like year-wise, maybe. I'm not sure how that would work out, but be like, this falls within the same genre. Like
I like that idea.
yeah.
I also, I kind of feel like we should. I want to say put out more content, but I mean, two films a month really kind of limits it. But I can't see splitting a month up into thirds equally
Yeah,
to
it
not
doesn't
be
work.
such a burden.
Yeah. And we didn't even get this one out on time, did we, Tom?
Sorry, that's my piss poor planning.
Yeah.
I mean, we might. No, it's already 12:45.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm sure there will only be one person that's heartbroken.
One or two people, those viewers.
I was talking about Jesus.
Terrible. Anyway, that was our film. Have a good night.
Bye.